speak liberal, they have liberal friends, and then they go online and they are a white supremacist.
This is Vera Papasova. She spent the last year dating far-right men in New York City for a story for Cosmopolitan magazine.
They're the most insecure men I've ever sat down with. It was really difficult to have some of these dates because they were so insecure, because they don't really know who they are and they don't know how to figure that out.
Independent journalist Vera Papasova set out to learn more about the resurgence in so-called anti-feminist and traditional right-wing beliefs about women and relationships. And her conclusions may just surprise you. Papasova originally wrote a piece for Cosmo about her experience spending an entire year on a conservative dating app as a liberal woman. And in that piece, she makes it clear that she wasn't out to get these guys. That wasn't her purpose. She actually was curious if any real connections could be made despite the country's severe political divisions. Did she really think? To meet these men, she created a profile on a conservative dating app where she honestly described herself as a Republican curious woman, posted real photos of herself. From May to November, she matched with 60 men and went on 26 dates. Most of the men she met immediately said they expected their partner to be an unvaccinated white woman who would quit her job and commit to homeschooling children.
One of these guys brought me to a political meeting.
And did they talk about politics?
Barely. They talked about, it was a bunch of men complaining about girlfriends and wives, regurgitating Andrew Tate type of advice about how to train your girlfriend, how to train your wife to be submissive. And so this group was supposed to be a political group, but they're talking about relationship problems. And the fact that that's what most of the time was spent on, you need therapy.
Eventually, she found commonalities between most of the men she was meeting, aside from their obvious misogyny. Unsurprisingly, almost all these guys had another thing in common. Listen.
She said the men she dated got all their news and information from the so-called manosphere.
They did not listen to anything else. They're only listening to independent media, and they're only listening to men talking to men. The thing about these guys is their biggest support system is online, but that also is very isolating, and isolation is what breeds hatred.
I'm curious what you think of just taking on this assignment in the first place as some kind of investigative journalism.
So number one, I'm 100% with you. Come on, you weren't really gonna date those guys, come on. And I think she's saying that to kind of make it seem like, no, I'm not taking advantage of them. And I came in with an open mind. On the other hand, she got amazing information. The guys that were described, some of them are just awful human beings, right? These guys, unfortunately, they're not able to compete in the modern day and be able to, date women that they want to. And they get angrier and angrier, and then that isolation happens. And so the only thing they could think of, the only thing that resonates with them is, well, what if we could go back to when men controlled women? And so that way they couldn't disagree with us. They'd have to say yes. Right? And so that is an enormous admission of defeat, that you just couldn't figure out how to succeed in relationships in the modern world. And I think that she's absolutely right that they get into the spiral. First, they have the issues to begin with. Secondly, they then look for an excuse. Guys like Andrew Tate give them the excuse, and then they start becoming more misogynistic. And I think she did a really good job of exposing the variety there and the depth of it. So you're getting a range of guys from bad to horrible. So there was a lot of value in it. At the same time, leading them to believe you're on a real date when I don't think those are real dates at all. It does make me a little uncomfortable. So I don't know how to resolve that.
Well, I get what you're saying there. The one thing that as I'm reading through some of her observations, these are some extreme examples, like you said, tattoos and all kinds of stuff. But I did a focus group during the presidential campaign, Black men, right? And not all of them, but the majority, I would say. And this is just one snapshot. Okay, it wasn't scientific. I'm not saying black men only think, but some of the things that these guys, according to Vera, represented about a better time and a man should lead. And they were talking about Kamala Harris as, she's too mouthy. Her reasons were not your reasons, or their reasons for not voting for her. It was that this runs the gamut. And I hear this a lot from some guys, but I'm just telling you what they say. They don't like a big mouth, okay? It's interesting what she did. A little contrived, I think, but I still found it interesting.
On the left, I feel do too much of, ha ha, you're a loser, you couldn't compete, etc. I get it, guys. You're having trouble competing. And I've said this for many years now. I had trouble competing and I was a nerd. I was a significant nerd and I was super nervous around women, around girls and stuff like that. And I didn't know how to get there. And slowly I figured it out. And the answer isn't being antagonistic to women. That is definitely not the right answer. The answer isn't insulting women. That is not the right answer. And the answer isn't, hey, give up or etc. I think the answer is showing them, hey, how do you do it? Not in a patronizing way. The number one thing that will help you in that regard is confidence. And not like in an ugly way, just in a strong, real way.
I agree with you. Confidence to me is the sexiest thing. Looks are one thing, but it's not lasting. Like you get to know someone, like we all know someone who's beautiful, but like their behavior's so ugly, we can't see that anymore. And the reverse is true too. At least that's my experience that, boy, if you get me up here and I'm attracted to that energy and you're confident, like you said, unwavering, not, closed-minded, but like, this is who I am, unapologetically. That's a beautiful thing because there are people in both sexes, but I'll just go with women who are going to test you too. A nervous guy, a nervous jank all those years ago, there's a certain type that would seize on that and kind of, poke that.
Last thing I'll say is we all have lives and none of them are perfect. And we all go through roller coasters and we all have our ups and our downs. Just don't get too down when you're down. Know that you're going to get back up.